Okay, I know why you're here. You're coming to see who gets picked as the winner for the Warm Baller swag, and I love it. In fact, I love it so much that I'm going to give away 3 things to 3 different winners, or 1 thing to each different winner. You guys know what I'm saying, because why not? That's how I roll. But I'll let you know who those winners are in a minute, because first, I have to admit that I'm pretty embarrassed. In this week's edition of one of my favorite matchups in the whole entire world. A game that I was lucky to have seen with my own eyes once in my life, and I want to go back again. It was a Super Classico between River Plate and Boca Juniors, and it happened this weekend, and I forgot to mention it on previews and predictions. I forgot to mention it! What kind of savage am I? So before we get to the part about Alvaro Morata scoring the goal that gave Manchester City the title this season, I want to give a shout out to my Boca Juniors for scoring the winner with 15 minutes left at El Monumental, which is River Stadium, which, as you can imagine, makes the victory taste even sweeter, because that gives Boca 8 wins out of 8 games to stay on top of the Argentinian league by 9 points and a full 12 points over their hated rivals River. So life as a Boca fan is pretty good at the moment. Can't lie. Though Corinthians in Brazil once had a 12-point lead earlier in this season too, and it was down to 3 points before this weekend started, but they scored 3 first-half goals to hold on 3-2 to beat second-place Palmeiras, which restores a 6-point cushion at the top with 6 games to go. So they could maybe, possibly, still lose it, but it looks like after that performance, they're up for the challenge. I think they're gonna see it out now. But it was close there for a while. It was a little dicey. And speaking of being embarrassed, which is not about West Ham losing again and firing their manager and then bringing in David Moyes. Though maybe it should be about that, because David Moyes, the guy is bang average. Do you really think that inspires your supporters or the players? I don't know. Anyway, it's about me being embarrassed about predicting that the Houston Dynamo would get 10th in their conference in my MLS preview. I don't think they're going to improve much at all. 9th. And instead they got 5th. They made the playoffs, and now they're one of the final 4 teams left after they beat the Portland Timbers in Portland. So I apologize to everyone on the team and all of your fans, and the city itself, which just won a World Series. So maybe this is the year for your sports teams, Houston. But you still have to get past the reigning MLS Cup champions, the Seattle Sounders, over 2 legs for a chance to go to the final, while Toronto FC, on the other side in the Eastern Conference, squeaked past the New York Red Bulls after fighting some people in the tunnel, while Columbus's big lead from leg 1 held off NYCFC. So the hosts for the last 2 MLS Cup finals, Toronto and Columbus, neither of whom won the Cup final they were hosting in those last 2 years, are going to battle it out to see who hosts it again. And I'm pretty excited for these Final 4. Should be really good. And before we get to chatting about how Kevin De Bruyne is the best player in the Premier League right now, I gotta give a couple of shout outs, if you please. One to the great Warm Baller Mikko Toivonen, who does all of my graphics and thumbnails and does a ton of great work, because his favorite club, FC Honka, got promoted from the Finnish 2nd division to the 1st, and that deserves our respect. And to Atlas for beating Chivas Guadalajara in Guadalajara 2-1 to continue to hold on to that last and final playoff spot in Liga MX. Also, Chivas, no mami's way. Last season you guys were the champions. This season you're in 15th place. And that is not easy to do. That is like everybody needs to suck at the same time. What's going on? And to all the people who got to watch Sporting Clube de Portugal and Braga score 3 goals in the last 5 minutes to tie 2-2. And as always, all of the links to the highlights of every game that I'm talking about will be in the description. And if you don't subscribe, and I'm not sure why you wouldn't at this point, you should, just for the legwork we're putting in, just for you. One-stop shopping for you guys. And finally, before we get to the part about David Luiz potentially not playing for Chelsea anymore, I want to give some love to Sydney FC, who grabbed a hold of the top spot in the A-League in Australia from Melbourne City after they beat Melbourne City in Melbourne 1-0. So we'll see how Melbourne City responds to this setback. And now, before we get to Everton's biggest win of the season, which is kind of sad to consider coming back from 2 goals down at home to beat Watford 3-2 as your biggest win of the season. But I guess it's still something for Toffee fans to be excited about, so here's a virtual high five. No, instead it's time for This Week in Neymar, where the Brazilian superstar missed yet another game, this time due to injury, but he didn't miss out on getting to watch Edinson Cavani and Kylian Mbappe both score a brace in PSG's big 5-0 win over Angers, on something, they're angry, Angers, something. Well, anyway, it helps PSG continue to have a 7-point lead on top of Ligue 1. I just thought you guys should know that. And ooh, before we get to Spurs beating Crystal Palace to keep their momentum going ahead of the North London derby that's going to happen after the international break, let's talk about Borussia Dortmund easily losing to Bayern Munich at home 3-1 to keep their unbelievable slide going. Because they were cruising 3 weeks ago. Cruising! And now they're on the ropes in their Champions League group. And they're probably not going to qualify for the knockout round. So, yay, Europa League. And now they're 6 points behind Bayern. And what the F? How the hell? I mean, it's just, I wanted the Bundesliga to be exciting this season. And it's just not going to happen. It's just more of the same. And now 4 of the top 5 leagues in Europe are already decided. Bayern has the Bundesliga, PSG has Liga, Barcelona has La Liga, and Manchester City has England, which means Italy's the only thing up for grabs. Or is it? With Napoli somehow not scoring a goal against Chievo Verona in their 0-0 draw, and Inter only being able to muster a 1-1 draw against Torino despite Mauro Icardi having plenty of chances to win that game, it's Juventus who are coming away as the big winners this weekend, with John Square, also known as Juan Cuadrado, scoring the late winner over Benevento, meaning Juve gained 2 points on both of the other clubs in the top 3, so they move within 1 point of the top, which means it's just a matter of time before they take the lead and never look back. And to all of you triggered Real Madrid fans that want to wring my throat, after I said Barcelona has already won the league, I'll say this. I know it's only November and that there's way too much time left to say that Barca is definitely going to win, especially since Madrid get to play them 2 more times this season. But fun fact for you Madridistas, Madrid have never gone on to win the league after being 8 points down in a season, and guess what? They're 8 points back. Yeah, what are you gonna say to me now? Also, Messi looks ultra motivated this season, not only to snatch the next Ballon d'Or from Ronaldo, which would break their 5-5 deadlock because we know Ronaldo's gonna win it this year, but to prove that Barcelona can win a trophy without Neymar. And given that other players besides Messi and Suarez, though Suarez looks to be struggling a little bit at the moment, other players are finally stepping up offensively to bag some goals, like Paco Alcacer in his brace this weekend and Paulinho last weekend. So I believe this is Barcelona's league title to lose. And do not at me in the comments. You're still gonna at me in the comments, aren't you? I know it. You guys always at me in the comments. And speaking about the next Ballon d'Or, if Kevin De Bruyne continues to play the way he's playing for Manchester City and they win the league and they make a deep run in the Champions League, he has to be a contender for the next Ballon d'Or, right? Right? I mean, I think that. Anyway, I'm gonna transition into the game he just played because I legitimately thought that Arsenal had a chance against City this past weekend because of science. Arsenal's top players were rested and City's had just put in a hard shift in Italy midweek. But what I wasn't prepared for were Arsene Wenger's whack tactics, which I should have been prepared for. That is my fault. I'm gonna own that, because I should have known he would do something whack, like not starting Alexander Lacazette. I mean, why would you leave your £50 million signing on the bench and play Alexis Sanchez in the point position up top? It doesn't make any sense. You put a proper number 9 in the number 9 position and you let Sanchez run off of his shoulder. Let Iwobi be the guy off the bench, not Lacazette. And why is Granit Xhaka still in the starting team? Can somebody answer me that? I would rather have a 50% healthy Santi Cazorla there than 100% Xhaka, or let a motivated to prove himself Jack Wilshere go there instead. And also, what is this morph back 3 with Coquelin in the middle? Wenger's past it, man. Arsenal are dead. I mean, what's the point about getting outraged about it anymore? You've seen one Arsenal fan TV video, you've seen them all because it's always the same goddamn thing. And I don't want to hear about the offside call, even though it was offside, and Arsenal should feel upset about it. City with a better team. Also, I'm really getting super emotional about this when I'm not even an Arsenal fan. You're gonna think I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm not an Arsenal fan. Which leads me to N'Golo Kante, who is arguably, you like that transition? The most important player in the Premier League over these last 2 seasons. And when he's healthy, as he finally was for Chelsea in their battle against Manchester United this weekend, it helps Chelsea play better, which leads to Chelsea winning games, which leads to Chelsea winning trophies, though that might be a bit of a stretch this season given City's current form and the fact that Chelsea are playing in Europe this season when they weren't last season, so it's a little bit easier to juggle all that depth. But the world is a better place, this is my point, when N'Golo Kante is leaving his team on the field, so I'm thankful for his return, and I think France's national team will benefit from him as well, because his presence in the squad in next summer's World Cup could go a long way to them having success. Also, a hat tip to Alvaro Morata for a great header on a terrific ball from Dave, and that's just a massive 3 points for the Blues. and hopefully they can build on that momentum and make a run at it. But what I'm not sure of is me being able to push on, because I don't think I can do this video anymore. I can't talk about how Liverpool put their class on display against West Ham, or Everton finally doing something positive this season, or Spurs being really, really un-Spurs-like at the moment, or Brighton moving up to 8th in the table after beating Swansea, or Swansea not being able to blame Bob Bradley for their problems, or Burnley being tied on points with Arsenal and Liverpool, or Newcastle, my Newcastle, losing to Bournemouth at home, which is completely unacceptable, because I've just seen the news that is in fact official, and I don't know if I can handle it. It's our Lord and Savior Andrea Pirlo is hanging them up. It's over. I didn't think it was real, but it is real, and it's over, and I don't want to talk about it. But I forgot to name the 3 winners who predicted the right score for the Arsenal and City game. So please, a drum roll. And first up is Metodi89, who also has a Steve Zissou avatar, which is extra points for you, my friend, because I love that movie. Richie Olivaria and Michael Oriana. So you guys have to hit me up in the YouTubes, in the YouTube messages, or hit me up on Twitter at Jimmy Conrad or at Warm Ballers, and I'll hook you guys up. As for everyone else, I'm gonna do a big, giant, huge subscriber giveaway very soon. I'm talking like a free console, games, Warm Ballers swag, the works. So make sure you're a subscriber so that you can enter. And yeah, I think that's it. No, that's not it. I have career mode dropping tomorrow. Inyo in, Inyo forever. Later.